Hey everyone, this episode is part of a remastered series that Marisol and I decided to record to make up for the loss of our original 10 episodes. In these episodes, you can expect the two of us to talk about the exact same topics that were covered in our original episodes, only now with a new perspective. Thank you guys for listening. Now let's get into the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. This is going to be episode number, I think it's number 8 of the remastered playlist. This episode was one where Marisol and I sat down with Diego, my little brother, and we talked about, high school and college, but we're going to kind of scrap the topic. It's just going to be my brother and I today. Marisol's working. And we're just going to be talking about whatever we got on our minds, honestly. So, yeah, Diego, if you want to introduce yourself.
What's up? Name's Diego.
Nice.
I'm 16, so don't Chris Hansen me.
We were just talking about that in the car. Like, my name is Chris Hansen, and you're on Hansen versus Predator. It's like my life, it's ruined. Because I was watching YouTube videos. This is guy reacting to those videos. Diego, there was this one guy. He shows up and thinking that he's gonna meet up with like this 14-year-old boy, gets butt ass naked before he even enters. Before he even enters the house, he gets butt ass naked, goes in the house, sits down on the stool, and he brought like a bag of chips. They didn't even send the decoy out. They were like, Chris Hansen immediately came out. It was just like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean, what are you doing, bro? It was the most sus shit I've ever seen.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I just thought it was just insane that happened.
That's hilarious. It's like the EDP situation where he just shows up at the scene and like the predator catchers are there. And they're like, what were you doing here? He's like, I'm trying to get some cupcakes. It's like, what? Cupcakes?
Trying to get some cupcakes.
Like, what are you doing? Cupcakes out here in this neighborhood.
I know. He was trying to get a handful of some like boy cake, bro. What you mean? Some little boy cake. No, yeah. Like, obviously the situation itself isn't funny, but it's just crazy that the stuff that the predators come up with on the spot to try and get themselves out of that situation. Like, you're caught, bro. Like, you're done. You're going to jail.
No excuses, man. No excuses.
I know, it's hilarious. Like the excuses that they come up with. But yeah, I mean, Diego, the first time that we recorded this episode with you, were you a sophomore in high school or were you a freshman?
I was a sophomore.
Sophomore in high school. Yeah, that's right, because we had already graduated by the time we started this podcast. And then, yeah, you were a sophomore in high school, so now you're a junior. And you're on your center snare on the drum line. I mean, you want to talk a little bit about that? How's that going? 'Cause I know you have some qualms with a certain school at the moment.
Yeah. So I'm a center snare, right? And it only means like two things really. It's just like it means you're the best player there, and that you kind of just like take charge a little bit of like the drum line whenever a director or a section tech isn't around. And this year I'd say we're not bad, but like it definitely was up to a bit of a rocky start. You could tell some of the people on the drum line this year they really put in the work. It wasn't really until recently at like our first competition a few weeks ago that like people who weren't carrying kind of like started to care. Like they started to feel the gravity of it.
Like of the competitions themselves?
Yeah, and just like, the whole band, like they kind of got that motivation to be like, man, I kind of want to place high. I don't want to just be like, well, you made it to like finals, but like you got like 9th place, right? Like,
yeah.
That's not impressive, right? Like they're like, we know we can do better because a lot of the people don't try, right? At least not that much outside. So that kind of makes me sad, but it makes me look forward to my senior year, since that means like next year's band it's probably going to start off with a completely different energy from the start, but
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a whole new set of students, like that, this year's senior class is out, and then you got a new freshman class, and then, the dynamics of everything are going to change.
yeah, that's something I'm definitely not not looking forward to is the seniors graduating this year, because two of them, three of them, one of the seniors I'm kind of close to, but two of them especially, both of them are on the snare line with me, and they're good friends of mine. I've known them since my freshman year, and we've hung out and stuff like that, and it's just like it's gonna be sad.
Yeah, see him go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be, but you'll move on. So
Just one of those it is what it is kind of moments.
It is what it is. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll stick around in town, kind of like how I did. I'm still going to UTSA, still here. I still see plenty of my old friends from high school, and you can always stay in touch if they're down. But yeah, that's cool. I wish you the best of luck in these upcoming competitions.
Yeah, UIL. It'd be nice to make state this year.
Yeah.
Our school's never done it. We've never managed to make state in any program.
You said you've gotten close though at one time, right?
Yes.
Or in your band career thus far.
So this would be my first year, like in a state competition year. Right before they used to do it every other year. I think now they're doing it every year, but.
Oh yeah. Why do you know why they would do it every other year only?
They just didn't have enough money. That's
RIP.
it.
R.I.P.
Like they can do it for football, but they can't do it for band.
Yeah, right. For fine arts, the fine arts department is so underfunded. It's pretty unfair. Like the athletics department got that new turf field, which I mean it's cool.
It looks so nice.
It's nice, but it's kind of like y'all can't spare, a couple bands for band. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's pretty crazy that. I mean, but that's kind of like what brings in the money. I don't know about in high school, but in college, that's definitely what it is. The football teams, you definitely see that with, I mean, even UTSA, they just got a new athletic facility built. Huge. Like, I mean, state of the art, real nice. And it's kind of like all of the other programs kind of get thought of last. It's like, well, let's see what we can do for the athletic department first with all this grant money, and then we can allocate to whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But, our dad actually told us that you can donate like as an alumni, or I think just as anybody in general, you can donate and make the grant or the donation out to a specific part of the college or of the university. So like our dad will donate to the engineering department because he graduated from that college, right? But I don't know. I really don't know like where all of our tuition money goes towards. Obviously it's a huge facility, the university, so I can imagine it's expensive to keep it up, but come on, like $5,000 a semester.
Yeah.
Where's it all going towards? And then some of these like weird ass fees that you get, they show you a bill, Diego, and it's like computer service fee. I was like, I've never once used a UTSA computer at all. I've only been using my laptop. So why am I getting charged another $27, $30 for a computer service fee? Even if it's only $30, like in the grand scheme of it, that shit adds up, like it's stupid stuff, or like the like recreational, like it's like recreation fee or whatever. And I'm like, I've never once gone to the UTSA gym. And I'm like, why am I getting charged this shit? I don't know. It's kind of like with taxes and stuff too. Like when you get taxed on your paycheck, you don't really have a say in a lot of the stuff that gets taken out from your paycheck. And it's all for, like social security reasons or unemployment. Like that's where the money's coming from, is you're getting taxed on what you get paid. That way, if you lose your job, you can file for unemployment. And essentially all those taxes that you were paying from your check is what's going to be funding your unemployment. But I don't know. It's all crazy. Like, like in my economics class, Diego, we were having a conversation about how you as the employee should have the power to choose like how your check is getting taxed. Like if you're not going to use Social Security, or if you're not going to use like unemployment ever, You're like, maybe you should have what's coming out of your check go towards an investment of your choice. Like, all right, 5% of my check gets deducted and gets thrown into like an investment account that's like for me. So I know I have that there and it's going to be growing. It's not just this flat rate, like non-growing account that like, shit, I lose my job. Hey, don't worry. You're going to get $200 every week. And I'm like, yeah, but my fucking monthly bill is like $1,000. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. But I think Flaco's outside the door. I think I heard him. I heard him breathe. He's fine. But yeah, I don't know. Crazy stuff.
Rough waters indeed.
Yeah, you know what I just thought of? When I was in the restroom, I was taking a shit, and you're like, "Are we still going to record?" And you play that one sound.
Oh, the Hell's Kitchen theme.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I think of Among Us whenever I think about that. They have like a similar sound. Remember you like call them the emergency meeting?
Oh yeah.
I've seen so many Among Us memes. Like I saw a Squid Game Among Us meme. It was like, we live in a society, and it was like an Among Us character, but he looked like the Squid Game people.
That's funny.
Have you seen Squid Game?
I have not.
I haven't either.
I don't really plan to. I feel like people are gassing it up, and they're like, bro, this is like the second coming of Christ. Like, your mind's going to be blown. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Chill, buddy, chill.
Yeah,
It's a show.
I haven't watched it, but I mean, it looks interesting. But I don't know. I don't really want to watch it. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people are hyping it up like crazy, saying that it's like this represents society and shit like that. And I'm like,
It's so funny.
all right, bro.
I always find it funny, those people who like, I can't take anybody who says the word like society. Like, okay.
Really?
Yeah, like they, those would be like those on any side of like any political spectrum. They'll be like, society does this. It's like, okay, chill, man.
You're like, all right, buddy. Let's fucking calm down.
It's like, I know you didn't get your monthly paycheck or something like that from the government to do nothing, but like, can you calm down, please? Like,
That's pretty funny. What is it? You know another word that I find weird? Flesh.
flesh. Oh yeah.
I don't know, or like moist.
Hmm.
Depends on how you use it though. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're trying to describe something, or it depends on what you're describing though. If you're like, yo, my clothes are moist, you kind of look at the person like, all right, bro, let's. What do you mean they're moist, right? But if you're describing like a cake, you're like, man, this cake is so moist. I'm like, okay, I can see that. You know, it's a moist. Well, now that I'm saying it, honestly, that shit sounds kind of weird. But like flesh, like when I hear the word flesh, I think of fleshlight. I used to for real think that it was a flashlight, and I remember I was like, what is the difference? Like, I would look at it and I'm like, why does this shit look so weird? And obviously I didn't know like what a vagina looked like at the time, and so I'm like, you know, I'm looking at this. I search up fleshlight and I'm like, where the hell is the on button? Right? I'm looking at pictures and I'm like, this shit looks so stupid. Like, I bet you it doesn't even light that stuff like crazy up. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably not even a bright flashlight. And then, you know, go down the rabbit hole and I come to find out that it's not a flashlight. It in fact is something else that's pretty disgusting. And I was, you know, once I found that out and I saw more and more pictures, I was like, okay, I need to exit now. I need to clear my browser history because this shit is disgusting.
You know what that reminds me of? At one of my competitions for band my freshman year, me and two other friends, we were walking around because we managed to have enough time to go to the mall at one of the competitions because there's such a big time gap, and you know we're walking around and like we walk into Spencer's and like anybody who knows Spencer's know the front half of the store, you know, it's pretty tame. Pretty tame, yeah. But you walk to that back half and it's like walking into a Build-A-Bear workshop or right into a sex shop. It's like it doesn't make sense. But
it's like PG-13 at the front of the store and just goes straight into like rated X.
Like 50 Shades of Grey, no holds bar. It's pretty tense and
it's rowdy.
You know, we're in there, we're looking at shirts and like we're joking around. And then we just see this one guy from our band. Actually, he might have been in color guard. I don't remember, but we just see him, and he buys a butt plug. Like,
Are you serious?
yeah, he bought one, and we're just like, what? And like, we ask him like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm gonna use it. I'm like, what? Whoa, chill, hold on. This went from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds.
He's
here.
like, it enhances performance. Yeah, stick it right on up there, and then I mean, you're just flying across the field.
I'm like, this guy was a senior. That was his last year. We're just thinking like, oh my god,
what a crazy time to be alive that is. Just to see that just play out. That's crazy.
We're so weirded out. Like afterwards, like we end up going into like this game store, and we rent out for like the next 2 hours to play some GTA 5, and we're just sitting there on this online lobby, just
play some GTA 5. What the?
It was fun, it was fun until the trolls showed up. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Bro. Like I understand why people say now, like if you haven't been playing GTA 5, you can't even get into it now because there's so many sweats on there. You'll be level 1 in an online lobby. You won't make it like 5 feet without getting killed by somebody.
Yeah, everybody's got like millions and millions of dollars with those like shark cards or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's crazy though? Like GTA 5 has been out since the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and then it came out on PS4 and Xbox One, and now it's out
on PS5,
PS5 and Xbox Series X for 3 whole console generations or 2 whole console generations, and the beginning of this new console generation. We're still on GTA 5, and it doesn't look any better, honestly, from console to console.
Doesn't.
And I don't know. It's crazy that people still play that game. Like I got it because I don't know. I was so infatuated by free roam games because we had always had games where you were, in a specific level, you could only do so much. There was a set path. Like I thought like one of the most fun games that we used to have, Diego, growing up was Lego Batman 2.
Oh yeah.
Remember? Because you were able to free roam like in the Lego Gotham
fun.
City. And you would always be Superman and I was Flash. It was so bullshit that the Flash ran slower than Superman when he would fucking take off.
I know.
And I was like, man, I wish like Flash could do that shit in the game. I'm still thinking back and I was like, man, that shit was so fun. But it's because it was free roam. And then so I finally got GTA, and I was living off the hype. That shit was not really fun at all, honestly. And like all my friends by the time I got it were like past that shit. They're like, man, that shit's like 5 years old, bro. I was like, that's some old shit, man. We on some new shit now. And I'm like, bro, but I just got it. And they're like, nope, we're not playing it with you. I was like,
And it's still $60. It has not gone down. And it's like, what? Like,
yeah, that's pretty ridiculous that game is still that expensive. I mean, even like, did you see, Diego, like the PS5 games? They're going for like $70 now, like new.
Yeah.
Or
so dumb.
Depending on like the size of the game, like they might, or for like PlayStation, like what is it? Properties. So like Spider-Man Miles Morales or Horizon Zero Dawn, like PlayStation has the power to like change the price of their games now, as opposed to just going with like the industry standard that has been set, which was 60. Because that shit was already kind of steep for me. It's still kind of steep because the amount of new games that come out on a monthly basis, and I don't know, it's a lot. That's kind of too like why I stopped buying so many. Like I got Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I didn't get like the new one or even any of them before that. Like there was a period of time where I was like, I'm gonna get every Call of Duty every year, and it was like, why would I do that? It was so much money that I was spending on just Call of Duty. Basically the same game reskinned with a little bit of different mechanics,
Yep.
And here we are now, just occasionally playing.
I'll never pre-order a game again, like, because I feel like everybody can say this, that like a lot of the games coming out have been going down in quality. Like it just feels like they build a big like nowadays so many games are like open world because that's like been the trend, and it just feels like they don't know how to fill it up with anything. Like they fill it up with nothing. Like the last game I pre-ordered was Ghost of Tsushima, but that was actually a good game. Like that, I'm still kind of salty that they didn't get Game of the Year and they gave it to Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently that was not a very good sequel to The Last of Us, which was like
I'm still
praised for being one of the best games.
I'm still triggered about that game, bro. When I tell you that was like, I don't know what these people were like, oh my God, it's so amazing. It's like they're so brave for making these decisions. Like, shut up. All right. What you really trying to say, right? Like,
I never got the chance to play The Last of Us. Or it's not even that I never got the chance. It's just I never made the effort to actually like play it. Like sit down and play a game like that. I mean, I haven't made the effort to sit down and play like a story game in a while. It's basically just been nothing but multiplayer games. I haven't had the chance to like actually play a story-driven game. Kind of missed that, honestly.
my favorites are always story. I don't like multiplayer that much. I feel like I've been kind of burnt out of those
Yeah.
because when it comes to multiplayer games, I get too sweaty. But like story-driven games are usually my favorite. Like, what's one that was like really good? Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yeah.
That is heavily story driven, and it's a really good game. It lasts a long time. Like that's like at least like 48 hours worth of game time.
Yeah, that's long. Most games are like
bare minimum.
maybe 10 hours, like story driven, and that's if you play it like slow. You can like power through some games like the Batman Arkham games. I used to think they were long as shit. You can probably power through it in like 6 hours max, honestly. Not like the newer ones. Arkham Asylum, that shit's like a 3-hour game. Like you think about it, if you know what you're doing, you fucking speedrun that in 3 hours and like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that ain't Red Dead, bro. You could bare minimum, you'd probably have to put in at least like 20 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Just try to speedrun it. I'm on like my third playthrough of it because my first one I just played the story, I didn't really care. The second one I played it again and I was like trying to see more stuff, but this time I've been like really exploring the world and stuff. I'm not even like halfway through the game yet and I've put in like close to like 60 hours on it. There's so much like that I don't know if anyone's ever gotten 100% on the game. Like there's so many things to do in it. Admittedly, a lot of it's pretty boring, but like still, pretty crazy.
Is it like a lot of side quests? Like, would you say there's more like side quests than there are like main quests?
Side quest to main quest, it's pretty even. There's about equal number.
Okay.
What makes the game long is there's technically fast travel, but you have to go to specific spots in order to use it. But there's a lot of like little stuff. So like hunting and fishing in the game, that's like that's something you can do because there's legendary animals in the game, right? And you can hunt them down and you can use like specific skills in order to kill them. And then fishing, you have to get like specific skills in order to catch them, right? Legendary fish. And then there's lots of different horses you can collect. You can build an encyclopedia of all the plants in the world, and there's like 300 or 400.
Jeez.
And same with animals. There's like I think around 100 animals in the game that you can like learn about. So there's a lot to do in the game. Some of it's kind of boring, I'm not about to try to jump over 10 stones with my horse in under 60 seconds. Like, okay, really?
There's just like these weird challenges, just absurd challenges.
Yeah.
Like turn 5 times with your horse. I'm like, all right, bro. Like what? That's just lazy. Adding just random ass challenges.
It's not even fun,
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been kind of sitting down and playing Destiny 2. I actually, from a friend, like we game shared, and I downloaded Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War because they've been wanting to play like Search and Destroy and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't had the chance to load it up, and then they haven't got on since I downloaded it. So I'm hoping to do that eventually, but I'm sure that'll kind of die out here pretty soon because now there's a new game, Vanguard, coming out, which looks exactly like the last two, just a different setting. And I'm like, they got to change it up. I feel like what they should do is release one game, and then instead of releasing one game a year with the 3 companies, why don't you just do one game every 3 years, support it for 3 years. That way you give the other company, essentially 12 years to make that game,
Mm-hmm.
Of course they could take less, but like essentially that's how long they have, because then it's like you release the game, you support it for 3 years. While you're doing that, you can start, back end development of the new one, and then the next company will release it. That's another 3 years that you have. Like once the other company releases their game, but then you still have the third company that's going to release their Call of Duty, and that's an additional 3 years before you, the first company that released it, has to release theirs.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like 12, 9 years. That's 9 years. You know that you have to do that, because it's like year after year they just release unfinished games, which that's a trend, honestly, releasing unfinished games and then like, hey, we'll patch shit later. Here's the game now, and I'm like, just fucking. Let it bake a little more, bro. Just leave it in the oven. Like, why do you have to release it right now?
That's like Cyberpunk and Fallout 76 in a nutshell, man.
Cyberpunk, that shit was riddled with like just weird glitches and bugs.
So bad. I didn't play Cyberpunk, but I played Fallout 76, and I remember at release, it was terrible. I mean, you couldn't go 30 minutes without the server crashing. Some of the characters, you'd like kill them, like their health bar would drop down all the way, and then they wouldn't die, and then they'd like go into a T-pose and start like flying, and it's like, what is happening?
T-pose on you. Just take off.
And then like the world would never render. Like,
yeah.
Like you'd see like a mountain in the distance, and like it would like go like disappear, and then like start forming again, and then like all the textures on it would disappear. So it would just look like some smooth rock, and it's like, what is this? Like, like I remember watching the E3 conference about the game, and they're like, it's 4 times the detail of Fallout 4. It's like, oh yeah, where's that 4 times the detail?
Like negative 4 times. This shit just went backwards.
It's horrible. Honestly, I feel like it's because they're still using the same engine for like the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's the thing too. A lot of games will try and run off the exact same engine for like multiple games. I'm like, just make a new engine for the new game. If you're gonna try and be ambitious and add new shit, you gotta have something that runs it. You know, because like if your game's already kind of, you know, barely getting by on the previous engine, and you're gonna try and innovate on all these crazy ideas on the same engine, you're really gonna expect the game to perform well? It's probably not.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Man.
I like lost my train of thought, and I was taking a breather. But yeah, I mean, how's life going, Diego?
It's going all right, I guess.
Yeah.
A little stressful with school.
Oh yeah, how is, like, not just band, but how's school going?
I don't like it. I don't. Like,
is it your classes that you don't like, or is it like the just going to school and being there?
Just going to school and being there. I just don't like being around people, you know?
Yeah.
People annoy me.
Yeah, you're talking about that, how you consider yourself an introvert, right?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. And man, I remember that. Yeah. And then I was saying, because I think of myself as an introvert, like by preference, but like more often than not, I'm thrust into situations where I act extroverted, you know? But I definitely prefer to be like either alone or with a pretty small group of people. Like I don't really like to put myself out there. I found it easier, right, through like leadership camps and like especially student council. When I was in student council in high school, it got pretty easy just to like be forward, you know? There are certain instances though where I am kind of like awkward because it's kind of an out of nowhere situation where then I'm like, I don't really want to talk right now. Like especially in the morning. Like okay, so that was one thing. I loved student council. That shit was amazing. And I was so grateful that I was able to go on like the field trips and shit with them. But one of the things, it was so high energy in the morning. I was awake for like maybe 40 minutes. We're walking into the big ass auditorium where, you know, the main meeting is held for the leadership conference. And they're like, hey, go Stuco, like yelling. And I'm like, bro, it's like 7:30 in the morning. Like, can you chill? And then, you know, I'll be like, hey, I'll get fucking hyped. And then I sit down and immediately shut down. I'm like, fucking, I just want to, it's so early for this. I hate like early morning interactions. Like I need a second just to be to myself, you know, like a good hour to just be by myself. But
It's difficult. Yeah.
in that situation, you can't. Because then also like I'm sleeping, you know, in the same room as my friends. So I don't have the chance to like kind of do my normal rituals, my nightly rituals, my morning rituals, you know. I like to sit down or like lay down before bed and watch like a YouTube video or something and then put it up, lay down, you know, drink some water, put my eye drops in, and I fucking fall asleep within an hour, right? And then in the morning, I need to take like an hour. I gotta wake up, gotta brush my teeth, fucking sitting there, stretching, laying out. In those instances, I have to wake up. I just straight to the shower, you know, and then I'm out, and I can't like sit down in my towel butt naked because there's 2 other dudes in the room. I'm not just gonna do that, you know. It's not like I'm uncomfortable with my sexuality. I just think that shit's kind of sus. Just sitting there with my nuts out, and then they're still asleep. Like what?
I know. And then what if you like just go full mast like out of nowhere? It's just like gonna be
just get bricked up. Just hey, my bad, G.
Just like, my bad. Hey, mind if I squeeze by real quick? Like
just like Steve from Minecraft, just fucking blocked up. Like, hey, excuse me. It's just like rubbing against the
God. That was awkward about the locker room, I remember.
Yeah. I never got bricked up in the locker room. I'm proud that I could say that. There have been instances though. Like awkward instances. Like I'll be in class, like I don't know. I feel like people it happened more often than not. I'd be in class, be sitting at my desk, and then I'm fucking up and I'm like, what is happening? Like I'm just sitting here. And then of course it would be like we're giving presentations. And maybe it was because I was nervous. Yes. Maybe I was nervous, right? And then that's what got me like fucking bricked up, and I'm there sitting there with the hog just on full display in my fucking tight jeans, right? And they're like, all right, who's next? And then, you know, I see the person go up and like, fuck, I'm after them. And I'm thinking so hard about it. Like, I'm like, please go away. But I feel like the more I was thinking about it, the more that like my fucking cock was just pulsing. And it was like, we're not going away, buddy. We're staying. And I was like, no, bro. And I'm like trying to put it away, shoot it. I'm like doing the fucking pocket maneuver where you put your hand in your pocket and kind of like grab it. You're like, I'm just holding my phone. I was like, but your phone's on your desk, Julian. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. And so, you know, there's been many instances where I'd get called up to do presentations, and I was just hoping that people weren't looking. But like, you know, I'd get into like the second slide of my presentation and it went away. But that initial, you stand up there, everybody's looking at you, right? And I'm like, fuck, dude. And like, I think it was all in my head. I'm sure nobody was staring. I'm sure my jeans were too tight anyways to like show anything, you know what I mean? But what is it? Because that especially happened when I used to wear like the slim jeans. Like now I wear the athletic fit, which are, I mean, they're not like super loose, but they're not like as tight as the slim jeans were, which I don't know why I was on this thing of like wanting to wear the tightest clothes. But those were very uncomfortable, and I don't know why I lied and said they were comfortable, because they were super tight. And I mean, they were tight on the front, on the back. The shit was just not a good time. And no, it was very awkward. Just standing up there, just at attention, just nada. I was like, come on, go away, bro. Like I'd start like flexing super hard at my desk, like trying to take the blood away from that area. I'd be like, hey Julian, what are you doing, bro? And I'm like, fucking flexing out. What are you talking about? But oh yeah, that shit was definitely funny. Definitely, it happens at the worst times.
It does. It's always like right before the bell. Like that happened to me the other day. I was I was sitting in health class, and you know, I like wearing sweatpants. So I was in my sweatpants,
in your gray sweats,
and it's
over.
There's this pair I'm wearing right now, and they're they're the loosest pair I got. And I just like full mast,
just hog on display.
Not even like, oh, like yeah, it's out, but like, you know, it's not protruded to, but nah. It was all the way out, and luckily I had
a tent.
I had my hoodie with me, so I like, when nobody was looking, I like fashioned it where it's underneath my hoodie, so I could put my hands over it to like hold it in place. But
that's
like
so bad. You just got like the mushroom tip, just like sticking out. You're like, man, a gust of wind and the hoodie flies off and it's wraps.
It would have been bad. I made sure to stay away from people a little bit just so I wouldn't poke into them. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"What touched me?" It's like, my hand. It's like,
What touched me? Dude, like it's sticking out that much.
it was it's because these jeans or these sweatpants, they're super loose. So
Yeah.
it
You're
was
trying to slip
bad.
by and it's like it's just so easy.
Like, and I know there's lots of guys who are like, "Oh yeah, man, I jerk off every day," but I
Oh my god.
I never do it, so it's like I'm just full of energy. So when it happens, it's happening. Like, like
That's so bad. Oh my goodness. It's just attitude. It's like no way to relieve itself. It's like, no, we'll go away when we want to go away. That's crazy, Diego.
it only happens during school too. Like I get bored masked, man. That's when it happens for me.
Yeah. That's honestly that's when it would like tend to happen, when you're just like I'll be sitting there doing a test and that shit happens and I'm like, why now, and then it's like it doesn't go down the entire duration of the test. I'm like, why is this happening? I wasn't not even thinking about anything. I'm just there trying to fucking calculate numbers, and it's like, oh shit, 4 times 4, and it's like
Do you like move your leg slightly and it just like whoop like for a second?
You're like, come on, bro, come on. Man, no, fuck. That reminded me of something. It slipped my mind. I don't know why I said that. I thought saying that would like help me remember it, but it didn't. It was it had to do with school, I'm pretty sure. I think it had to do with school. I don't know if it was it my classes? Was it? I mean, yeah, so okay, Diego. So yeah, you're not really enjoying school. Killing it with band, hyped for the upcoming competitions, but I mean, is there anything else that like you're really looking at doing? Like, I know because the marching season is about to end, and you were saying you were maybe thinking about getting a job, or like, are you gonna maybe join a club or some shit? Like,
Nah.
is it just band in school? And that's really it?
Just band in school. Do not want to really join anything else. You're in student council, so I was like, maybe I'll join student council. It ain't it. The people in it this year,
A little different,
they're just annoying.
a little sussy.
They're the loud ones,
Some sussy bacas in student council right now.
I just knew I wouldn't vibe with it. Like, hey, nothing against you guys. It's just like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
not my crowd.
Sometimes it's different for sure. No, yeah, we'd go to those those leadership conferences. Definitely did not like mesh with a few of the different schools' student councils. I was like, I was a very different person, and my style of leadership was very different to theirs. And so, I mean, it was cool to learn, but I was definitely at times not comfortable. I was like, why am I here? But no, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm trying to think back. Like, we had a few freshmen in student council my senior year, so that would have been like with y'all's class. I don't know if they're still in it though. I haven't kept up. Like,
No,
I think a year after I graduated, I like unfollowed like all of the student council, National Honor Society shit. I was like, I'm done with that. I don't want to see it. Like, yeah, okay, cool times, but I'm done. I'm putting it behind me. But yeah, man, that wasn't it though. There was something that I was trying to say. I don't know if it had to do with like, cause you started talking about like at full staff, and I was like, that reminded me of something that I was gonna then get into, and then we just got into it, and now I can't remember.
Yeah.
But got that Chick-fil-A water. It's pretty much just like ice and air now, so it tastes like that styrofoam. It's just styrofoam air. It's nasty. Yeah, man. We're just kind of at that point of the conversation where like just kind of dropped off. We're just here now. I mean, what's going on, Diego?
Well, there's something funny that happened the other day.
Wow.
Is I was in class and this one person tells me, oh snap, I forgot what I was gonna say entirely.
Rip.
I blanked.
R.I.P. bruh.
So hard. Wait, no. I remember.
What happened?
So they're like, do you have opinions? I was like, what? It was
Are you
like,
serious?
yeah. They're like, do you have opinions? I'm like, yeah. It's like, what are they? It's like, I don't like talking about them. It's like, why? It's like, 'cause people are so like, you haven't even heard them yet, and you're already confrontational. Like, what do you mean,
yeah.
why?
He's already getting upset. He's like, you got opinions? Yeah, you motherfucker. Like, why don't you go sit your ass back over there?
Like,
That is crazy.
I don't know. It's like, especially at Stevens, man, it's so liberal. Like the viewpoints there. And it's like, I'm not saying I got anything against it, but my viewpoints are definitely much more conservative.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. Like I can agree on some things. Liberal things say like gay marriage should be legal. Like I'm not saying like, yes, I want to see all the gay men get married. I want to see all that steamy
happening?
cake happening. Like,
What is
but it's just like, I just don't think, it should be the government's choice on that. Like, if they want to get married, let them do it,
Yeah. Okay.
Or like,
I definitely agree. Yeah.
or like the legalization of weed. It's like, okay, just do it. Like,
That's a pretty hot topic. Like the legalization of marijuana. People are like, it's a gateway drug, and I'm like, you look at any sort of, even like alcohol, it only becomes a gateway when you take it in excess, because then when you take it in excess, then you become numb to its effects, right? Whether, you can't get drunk as easy or you can't get high as easy. And then that's when you like try to move on to, much more hardcore shit. And that's not everybody, right? I'm not saying that the instant that it's, you have to smoke like 2 blunts to get high. That's not what I'm saying. Like, but there's a good, population of people who indulge in those activities, who when they get to a point where it takes a lot for them to get to a high state, they're like, all right, let's fucking, y'all got lines of coke, like what's happening,
Yeah.
or like, let's fucking shoot up, shit like that. Like they're trying to go on to harder things to chase that high that's even harder for them to get with what they're already doing.
And then there's sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes I've seen it in this one guy who I never was really good friends with, but one of my other friends was, and he was like, man, this guy's like doing cocaine now. I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
Like, what do you mean they're doing cocaine? Like, you say that so casually. It's like, I'm serious, man. Like, they're doing it. I'm like, why? And they're like, I don't know. It's just the people they hang out with. It's kind of like that culture of like, oh, you only live once. Like, live your life. It's like, are you really living it though? Like,
yeah, that's to a certain point. Like that whole YOLO shit. Like, yeah, I understand. Like, you shouldn't be afraid to try things, but not in the context of taking fucking drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, you only live once. Hey, pass the needle, bro. No, bro. Don't fucking do some shit like that, bro. Like, that's so bad, that mentality. Like, I understand wanting to chase those feelings, of being high, because I've been there. You know what I mean? But it's not. I don't know. To at a point, it gets unhealthy. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of people have a hard time understanding. They're like, "Hey, man, I just smoke weed. That's me. If you don't like that, it's not." Like that's what I think a lot of people get mixed up. And like not like I'm using myself as an example on my viewpoint on it, but like I'm sure it applies to others as well. It's like I don't dislike weed or dislike alcohol or anything like that, right? It's more so like when you just like how excessively you use it, you know what I mean? It's kind of like when people come home, or like with their lunch they have a beer, and then for dinner they have a beer, and they're like, all right, evening snack, crack open a beer. And it's kind of like, okay, so you see how it starts to become kind of a problem there. Well, I feel like personally the same can be said with like marijuana, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, wake and bake, let's fucking spark a blunt. You know what I mean? For lunch, let's fucking middle of the day, ain't got nothing going on, let's fucking spark one up, Or it's like the end of the day, had a long day, just got out of work, let's spark one up. I'm like, okay, shit, you just smoked a lot, honestly, for that day. Like maybe it's not a lot in your terms, right? Because obviously you do that on a regular basis, but you look at the grand scheme of it, kind of smoking a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting high a lot. And I feel like people don't realize how much it impairs or like inhibits their ability to do things, you know?
Yeah.
Like I see it, when I think of marijuana, I feel like like when it gets legalized, I feel like it's going to get legalized within our lifetime in Texas.
Yeah.
It's gotta. And when that happens, I think people need to look at it kind of like how, you know, a healthy mindset will look at like a beer or a glass of wine or something. It's like a recreational activity that you engage in as a form of celebration, or hey, I got some friends over, you know, let's crack open some beers. You want me to pour you a couple glasses of wine? When weed gets legalized, you know, and it's more common in households, you want to roll a blunt, bro? You know, shit like that. Like that's gonna sound weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like when that happens, but when it indefinitely does, you know, it's kind of like I feel like that's how people should look at it. That way, it doesn't become something that like kind of a dependence, you know? Because I've had instances where sometimes it seems like people can't have fun if they're not high.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, you know, I know we're not kids anymore, but why can't we go back to the times where we can't just fucking chill, hang out, and go somewhere where we're all in a state of mind where we fucking comprehend shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it can be kind of tiresome being around people that are high all the time, and you're just kind of like the only one sober. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. That's my view on it. There's a lot more shit to get into, but I feel like there's not enough. I can't articulate it. You know what I mean?
This kind of makes me think about like why I feel like nowadays. I know this is like kind of a bit of a left turn, but like, why I feel like guys are just like so pathetic nowadays.
Oh my goodness,
like
well, okay, yeah, elaborate. What's going on?
So like when you look at like the average guy,
okay,
they're engaging in like so much super stimuli all the time. You know, whether it's alcohol, weed, pornography, masturbation.
Yeah. It's all that instant gratification stuff.
They're doing it all the time. And then they're like, well, it's fine, you know, like my life's still going good. But it's like the more comfortable you make yourself, the more uncomfortable your mind gets. And like a big issue that every human has, everybody's guilty of this at one point, is that we like to make excuses. Like we don't like to face reality of situations because it's easier to do that, you know.
Yeah.
It's easier to lie to yourself, and you know a lot of these guys, you know, they're just doing this shit all the time, and they're thinking like, well, it's fine, you know, it's not that bad, I'm happy. But it's like, are you actually happy?
Yeah.
Like you're numbing yourself all the time with these drugs, with these just like unhealthy things. It's like, are you even able to tell if you're happy at that point?
Yeah.
And I look at some of my friends who are like doing stuff like that a lot, and I think, you know, you got like so much potential, but every day they show up to school, they're like, man, bro, I'm so drained, I'm so tired, and they're like, I couldn't get any sleep last night. I was like, well, why do you think? It's like, I don't know, man. And it's like, and then they also talk later, they're like, yeah, man, I jerked off like 7 times. It's like, okay, so why do you think you're not getting restful sleep? Like,
yeah,
like, you know, in one like full, like, I guess like an average nut size contains like the same amount of energy of like 6 eggs or a steak, like a 6-ounce steak.
When you say nut, do you mean like a single ejaculation?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were talking about like the nut sack. I was like, what?
and it takes like 3 or 4 days for that stuff to rejuvenate. And like you hear these guys who are like on average, like, yeah, at least like floor like 5 times a day. Like,
yeah.
Like they don't think that's not doing anything to them.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna cap. I used to be in that boat, and I'll tell you what, I don't think I ever felt more drained in my life than when I used to be doing stuff like that. And it was exactly that. It was that instant gratification. And then I had to realize that and fucking like kind of tell myself like, you got a fucking problem, bro. Like you're so like I was addicted to that instant feeling of like, yes, you know, fucking busting up. But then that post nut clarity would kick in, and you'd be like, the fuck am I doing with my life? You know, you just fucking get hella depressed after. And then, honestly, that post nut clarity only hits when you do it that often. If you turn it into something that only happens occasionally, or you save it for like, you know, if you have sex, so that's the only time that, you know, you nut, then it becomes kind of like a special feeling. Like, yeah, that felt good, and I'm still happy afterwards. But when you do it in excess, then that's when that post nut clarity hits, and then you're just kind of like, why am I alive? You know what I mean? You start asking questions like
Yeah.
that. And so I completely get like what you're talking about, honestly, like from a
Yeah.
personal standpoint.
Like, and you know, something that I always think about too is a lot of guys are talking about like, you know, I just can't find the drive or motivation. Like nothing really excites me in life anymore, you know. I can't seem to want to like just get up and work out or, you know, clean my room up. Like everything seems so difficult. And it's like, you know, obviously like I talked about, like it, you know, jerking off a lot drains energy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to do some of that a little bit too. Not too bad, you know, like in middle school days, you know, you
Middle school days.
crazy, you know, you hit puberty, you're doing it a lot, but like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
kind of died off after a little bit. It wasn't too bad.
That's
But
crazy. Well, you are also really busy. Like I noticed myself when I got very busy in high school, that's like it was plateaued. Like it never happened. You know what I mean? Then obviously once coronavirus hit, I'll tell you what, Dale, that shit fucking jacked back up like nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But because you're in that situation of being bored, nothing else to do, and then your mind just goes to that. And it's just you kind of fall back into that loop. It can be hard to get yourself out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so no, I agree. I think because of you being in band and being very involved, like with school, like it's kind of taking your mind away. You're putting your energy somewhere else besides just fucking doing that. You know, just into the toilet. And then, you know, you're putting energy towards that. Like, come on, man. You know.
But I mean, like, you know, you think when your brain's constantly overstimulated, it's always at this level of
Yeah.
like you're, you know, a baseline, let's say a baseline of pleasure, you know, it's fair, right? Your mind's clear for the most part. But when you're constantly exceeding what our natural baseline should be, like, well, damn right, nothing like that's natural to us is going to feel exciting, you know, like
Yeah.
put it in like scientific terms, like pornography mixed with like masturbation releases about like 200 units of dopamine, maybe a little bit more if you're watching more extreme stuff, but like, you know, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
baseline. And humans normally our baseline is, you know, it'd be like around 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like if you eat, you know, maybe some like natural food like celery or something like that, that'll release like what, 20 units of dopamine.
Interesting.
You know, super like sugary fatty foods like, you know, chips and stuff will release like 50,
Yeah, yeah.
which is why they're more addicting. You know, they appeal to our mind more because they hit those, you know, those neurons in our brain more, right? So like when people are always like using this stuff like all the time, the natural things in life don't become fun anymore. They don't become interesting, you know. That's why one of my friends, he was like, you know, I just can't seem to like enjoy being around people, or like I just don't feel much anymore.
Mm.
I'm like, well, you're jerking off all the time, man. Like, you know, when your
Yeah.
brain is always at this high level of stimulation, the little things in life that, you know, we're supposed to be experiencing, like that's kind of like what life's about.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't become interesting anymore, and it's kind of sad, you know, especially like when you put it in like a larger scale. Like if you're not really living or experiencing the moment with people, like, or you know, you think of like with your parents aren't going to be around, like assuming they're still there, you know, they're not going to be around forever, and
Yeah.
you're going to look back one day and think like, I didn't make any good use of that time with them, you know, because I was off in a
shit's getting
different
deep.
world all the time, and it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
I truly wasn't living in the moment with them, you know. So it's like it's one of those sad things where it's like you can't take it for granted, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with the standpoint of like while you're young, you should live it up, right? Because once you get old, it's, you know, it's going to be harder to do shit, but you do definitely have to be weary or conscious of your time, you know, and just how limited it is, especially how limited the time of others around you is. And so you got to take advantage of it while you can, you know, tell that person you love them while you can, and you know, while you have the opportunity to, you know, continuously show that to them. But I mean, honestly, so kind of like in relating to it, right? This book that I've been reading, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
Something I learned about it recently was these things called centers. And it's basically like what your life is centered around. And you can have multiple centers. You can have, or they can switch depending on the scenario that you're in, right? And so it's basically kind of, to put it in perspective, I consider myself very like significant other centered.
Mm-hmm.
Like how Marisabel is feeling can almost be how I'm feeling. Or like if she's not going to do something, I don't really want to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like the worst thing because you're sympathizing with your significant other, but it definitely starts to like, y'all's viewpoints start to mesh, and then it almost becomes like the individual is lost, and then y'all kind of become this one personality. And we were very dependent on each other. Like I was dependent on her for happiness, and she was dependent on myself for happiness, and we kind of had to learn like to enjoy our own individual simple pleasures. So like I picked up playing video games from time to time again, because I stopped pretty much completely when I got with her, because I was like, I gotta devote every hour of every day to her. And now I'm like, I'm fucking play some games, been trying to read some books. I got a little stack of books there that I'm trying to hit up, fucking woodworking every now and then, just doing little shit here and there, not like trying to separate myself from her necessarily. Like I still love her, I want to be with her all the time, but it's like, making sure that I'm still enjoying the things that I enjoy, not trying to do shit that us together we enjoy doing together. You know what I mean? Like we gotta have our time away from each other. But other centers could be like one of the other centers that the author described was like a church center.
Yeah.
How Marisabel's professor was talking about how not every church, right, but some churches can be more like cults than anything.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of losing focus on what the gospel is trying to say, right? Or on what the idea of the religion, not necessarily like Christianity, but what the idea of the religion is trying to, convey to the people who follow it, right?
Yeah.
Some churches kind of lose that vision, and people get so caught up in volunteering or continuously doing service activities, or they're getting caught up in the whole aspect of going to church and doing the things at church that, like, sometimes when they come back home, right, they end up not kind of embodying the gospel. They end up not embodying, what it means to be a holy man or a holy woman, in that religion. And so, like, another thing, or like an example that he was talking about in the book was how, hold on. It's like right here. Let me grab it. But, yeah, so one of the examples that he was talking about, let me see here. Come here. So church centered, right? And it was basically, so your security is based on the church activity and on the esteem in which you are held by those in authority or influence in the church. You find identity and security in religious labels and comparisons. So it's basically basing your entire identity, your entire self-worth on whether or not the people at church accept you, whether or not the pastor accepts you, whether or not like you are going to church or not. And I feel like that's where a lot of people like kind of lose themselves. They're like, man, I haven't gone to church. I'm such a bad follower of this religion. I was like, well, hey, no, like it's not really about going to church. It's about practicing the beliefs that religion is preaching to you. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't go, or you wouldn't have to go to church a single day in your life as long as you yourself are embodying that gospel and like being a holy man, holy woman, whatever it is. Even if you don't believe in religion, right? Like myself, like as long as I'm being a good person, doing good onto others, and doing my best to be my best self, which in turn will, reflect onto others, then I know I'm doing good by myself day by day. You know what I mean? And obviously I've made mistakes, and there's been moments where I've been like an asshole to people, and I'm working on it. And I think I've gotten better. But, there's like, moments here and there, you just got to kind of do that self-reflection. But, like another thing, like thinking about it, when we were talking about masturbation and smoking weed and alcohol and stuff. Like, I think a lot of people can develop a censor around that.
Yeah.
They become like stimulation centered, like that overstimulation. They become alcohol centered, marijuana centered, or even like any of the hardcore drugs, cocaine, fucking heroin, or, they become like, it becomes like porn centered, or like that, that climax feeling, become climax centered. Like they become, their whole life, whether they're happy or not, is dependent on whether or not they're in that state of mind. Like I'm only happy if I could fucking, beat my meat 5 times today. I'm only happy if I'm high. I'm only happy if I'm, drunk. I'm only happy if, what is it? I got some sort of instant gratification from this specific thing that has become a habit in my life. And humans are creatures of habits, or creatures of habit, right? Once we start to do something day by day, it becomes a habit, and it's not impossible to break. You can pick up good habits. You can stop bad habits. You can also pick up bad habits and stop good habits. It's not the hardest thing in the world. Usually it happens naturally, but definitely doing those things like we were talking about in excess is a bad habit, in my opinion, and I think in most people's opinion. And it becomes your center. That becomes like what drives your day. Like I will be productive today only if I'm high. If I'm not high, it's a wasted day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, I haven't jerked off. I can't start my day yet. I haven't masturbated. I can't start my day yet. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
Fucking, you wake up, you start your day. Don't be reliant on something to happen before you start your day. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just started thinking about that. Like you were talking, and then that's what I was trying to say earlier. And if it finally clicked again, I'm like, fuck, there it was.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was cool, and it's a really good read. I'm like halfway done with it, so once it's done, if you want to check it out whenever you have the time. And then I definitely want to read that David Goggins one because I never got the chance to read that one that you had.
Oh, David, I love that book. It's a really good story about his life, and I think one of the best messages that I feel like he tries to get through, without necessarily putting it in your face, is like, you can only grow through uncomfortability. A lot of the things we talked about earlier, like with masturbation and stuff, weed and stuff like that, that's causing comfortability and people to be mediocre. But I think what people don't understand is the only way you can truly progress your life is to break comfortability. You can't, what do you call it? You can't become the world's next, biggest scientist. Let's say you're trying to cure cancer. You can't do it. You can't do it in your pajamas, in your bed, relaxing all day, reading a textbook. Like, you have to get up, right, early in the morning, probably head to the lab, spend possibly like a 14-hour workday just on your grind. And you can't do that just being lazy. Like, the only way you can truly progress in life is being uncomfortable. And, I think this is something that people don't think about, but when you're constantly when you're always comfortable, I talked about earlier, when you're always comfortable, you feel uncomfortable, but you feel less pleasure from it. Like, it doesn't even become fun, anymore. Yeah. It's not enjoyable. When you're uncomfortable, your mind is 100% clear, because it's in those moments where it's like, it's you against you. There's nobody else there. You're not in like some room and like people are like judging you against you. Like, no, when like, say you're on a run, and you're like you're on like mile 7, and you're like, shoot, I know I got 3 miles left to hit that 10-mile run, but like, I really don't want to be here anymore. It's like, nobody else is there. It is you against you. And it's like, it's one of those moments where it's like, it's a test of character, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things too about like the military. It's like, it's pretty, like, it's kind of like a pure process, like boot camp,
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuses anymore. Like, there's no like, oh, racism has been holding me back, or, I've just never been the kind of guy. It's like, no. There's no excuses. Like, either you're here or you're just gonna leave, right? Like, leave it at the door kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely what boot camp is. It's all testing your character. Putting yourself through such crazy physical feats it's all a mind game. If you can get past that mental blockade, man, fuck. Like, the abilities of humans is crazy. Like, I saw a video about this dude who ran a sub 2-hour marathon. And I don't know if you saw it, but he had like runners next to him that were keeping him on pace. So it was kind of like artificially simulated. It's not like he ran a whole marathon just like freelance. You know what I mean? Like, it was very much a controlled environment, but he ran the whole time, didn't really have any like help as far as like, changing shoes or taking breaks. He ran the whole full like 26 point whatever miles it was straight. He just had people there keeping him on pace. And then that last like mile or whatever it was, the fucking pace people went off.
Yeah.
He fucking finished it out in like an hour, 59 minutes or like 58 minutes and like 40 something seconds. Like first and only sub 2 hour marathon or like, ever to be recorded in history, and he was like talking on record and he was like, it's crazy what the human body can do. He was like, once you push yourself past that mental blockade, he was like, the only thing holding you back is yourself, right? Like what you said. He was like, if you tell yourself that you can do it and you push past all of those walls that are in your head, it was like, you can push your body to do crazy things, and that even you could even push like your mind to do crazy things. The amount of information that humans can retain is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, we're as capable as we allow ourselves to be.
Yeah.
If you want to be, if you allow yourself to be mediocre, that's all you're going to be, but if you want to be more, you can push yourself to be more. Everybody has the capability to do that, obviously given, they don't have any sort of mental hindrance, but in most cases you can definitely push yourself past what you think you're capable of.
Yeah. To kind of like add on to that, I saw this. I think it was Kevin Hart on the Joe Rogan podcast. I forget which episode it was, but he was talking about it's popular nowadays to be negative. So he was given like an example, like because Joe Rogan was like, what do you mean? It was like, well, you could be talking with your friend, you could be like, man, did you see Titanic? Like it was so good. And then out the corner you'll hear someone be like, nah, fuck that movie, I hated it. And then like somebody else will be like, yeah, I hated that too. And you'll be like, well, why? It's like, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I just hated it. It's like, that's the popular thing. Like, I feel like that's adding to it. The people are subconsciously putting themselves down before they realize it. Like, like how many times has anyone heard it? Like a test is coming up and somebody you see who, gets fair grades is probably going to pass it. It's like, yeah, fuck, I'm probably going to fail. Like, you're already losing the race before you even start it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's those people who are like, well, I probably, I gotta like do this or that, and then like my mentality change. It's like your mentality changes when it changes. Like it's you don't go from being a nobody to being like this jacked bodybuilder and like, oh, now my mentality is great. Now I'm happy. It's like, no, it's got to start from day one,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like that's kind of like, that goes back to like the centers, and like being reliant on something. Like I can't change my mind unless this happens. Like you're just setting that blockade for yourself. You can tear down that wall and change your mind whenever the fuck you want. But you're telling yourself, I got to do this before this can happen. I was like, not really. Like you made it a habit. And now you yourself believe that has to happen before this other thing can happen. I was like, no. You can change that. And it's a hard thing to change. Like in most cases, right? Sometimes it's not as easy as just, I just got to set an earlier alarm and, maybe go to sleep earlier. Like that's how you can get longer hours of sleep and wake up earlier. Kind of an easy formula. It can be hard, but I took melatonin and now look at me. I'm waking up at like 8 a.m. and I'm doing much better compared to where I used to be, waking up like for class and then going back to sleep. It was pretty easy to fall back into that loop, but it was also just as easy to get out of it. I just had to tell myself I can do it. I shouldn't be reliant on anything. I practiced what, you were telling me, what Mighty Swole was telling me, put the phone down early, like an hour before I wanted to go to bed, laid down. I've had everything set. And then, with the help of the melatonin at the beginning of the week, now I don't even need it and I can just fall asleep. So it's been good. Nice little grind there. The sleep grind.
Yeah.
But, crazy stuff. We're at an hour and 8 minutes. So quite a long episode compared to our others, but it's been a pretty good chat. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Diego? Any other topics that you wanted to discuss?
One little thing, I guess, like to like summarize it all is, behind the grind, right? If you feel like your nights you don't really feel restful, let me say, like, think about those days that you really just like grinded, like you actually did shit. You didn't just like half-ass everything. Think about that feeling you had when you went to bed and how it wasn't so much like, oh, I just passed out because I was so tired. Like when you woke up that next day, you were like, that was good sleep.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah, it was one of those like,
you finally rested.
yeah.
Like truly rested.
Yeah, those are the best. Like you wake up and you're not like tired when you wake up, but you just feel like refreshed, Like that's the best. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Diego, for coming onto the podcast. I think this was very interesting. I think we should do some episodes like this again, where it's just me and you sitting down and talking. I'm sure our viewers would dig it. I dig it. I love having conversations like this, like with you, Diego. It's crazy. We do these all the time in the car. So I'm glad we got to sit down and just talk on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember to follow us on our socials at livewithjm pod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Check out our Amazon affiliate links. It's a great way to support the podcast at no extra cost to you. And we'll catch you in the next one. All right. Bye, everybody.